Now, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam at this moment again is in the heavens with his body and his soul, and there will come a time before the day of judgment when Allah Azza wa Jalla will send him back. The time he will send him back is going to be a very crucial time, because it will be the hype of the time of Dajjal. Okay? So Dajjal will be on the earth. Again, with Dajjal, there's been a debate of whether whether Dajjal is a real figure or whether it's a system. And the dominant thing is that it's a real figure and it's also a system as well. Okay? So there's different tafsir about Dajjal and what he will be. But most of the scholars have gone with an actual figure who's on the earth, who has a system in place, and he will have many people fooled in many ways, and he will claim eventually to be God on the earth. Okay, that's his eventual. He will first start off by saying he's a messenger, and then after that he will claim that he's actually a God. And he will cause a lot of fitna on the earth, to the extent that people on the earth will be subdued to his powers, because he can actually stop the crops from growing, and he can actually stop the sun from shining on their harvest and so on, and he can kill their crops off, or he can give them, a harvest of food and so on for a whole year, and a number of fitna that will start. Again, some scholars have said it will be the peak of materialism, where a lot of these things are things where it's scientific, and he has ways of controlling the weather, ways of controlling what he does on the earth. And others have said no, Allah would have given him that power as a fitna and as a tribulation at that time, and he will use that to try and get people behind him. Of course, there will be a group of people who will be on the haqq, on the truth, and amongst them will be the Mahdi. Okay? Now the Mahdi, again, there are so many different reports. I'm trying to summarize it in the shortest way I can. Okay? There's problems in understanding who the Mahdi is, because every report that is authentic about the Mahdi is very unclear about the nature of this person. So the narration is authentic, is sahih. But the actual words in the narration, it's not very clear who this man is. And there are certain narrations that it's very clear who this man is. It's Mahdi, these are his attributes, these are what he's going to do. But the actual narration is weak. Do you understand that? Okay, so it's a dilemma. But we know there will be a figure like the Mahdi who will come, who will unite the Muslims and so on, who will unite others together to fight for the haqq and the truth on the earth. Eventually what happens is, Imam Mahdi, he's not able to take on the Dajjal. When he hears that the Dajjal is out, he knows that he hasn't got that power to take on Dajjal. So at some moment, near the end of time, he will be this is Imam Mahdi, he will be in Damascus, in a masjid, with a white minaret, where he will be praying the Fajr Salah. So if you capture this on the video, there's a picture here of that masjid where there is a minaret here, and this is particular masjid where they say it's the actual masjid where Isa alayhi salam will come down by that white minaret. Now, there's various ahadith that talk about this, and a lot of it's sahih hadith from Muslim and other books. So what it says is that at the time of Fajr, Imam Mahdi is leading the Salah. He's been leading the Salah as the Khalifa of the Muslims for some time. Okay? And he's leading the Salah, and at the time of Fajr, Isa alayhi salam then comes down on a ladder from the heavens with his body and soul, returning back to the earth with one hand on the shoulder of one angel, another hand on the shoulder of another angel, and he comes all the way down past that white minaret onto the ground, onto the earth, and he comes to that Salah and he joins the actual Salah. Now, there are some reports to say that Imam Mahdi wants to go back and allow Isa alayhi salam to lead the prayers, but he doesn't. He allows Imam Mahdi to finish off the prayers, but from the end of that prayer, the whole reign of ruling on the earth is given by Imam Mahdi to Isa alayhi salam, that he becomes the leader, and from then on Isa alayhi salam actually leads the prayers, and he then takes control of the affairs. The only difference is that he returns back not as a prophet, but as a person who will be a person following the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And again, when he comes up on the Day of Judgment, he will be a prophet in his own sense, and he will be known as Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. He will not be known as a person who followed the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, according to narrations, there are many narrations here. I can give you the different sources, but I'm sure if you pick up the books on the science of the last hour, you will find these different sources there. So one of them says that Isa alayhi salam, when he comes to the earth, then he will do a number of things. He will be the one, according to a hadith. This is a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, where Isa alayhi salam, he will come down and he will do a number of things. So one of them he will do is he will break the cross. So Christianity and its faith, wherever it is on the earth, Isa alayhi salam will be the source to say, look, whatever you've done is wrong, and you don't worship the cross, you don't worship me. And as soon as his arrival comes, then not only will he break the cross or get rid of the swines on the earth, and he will also get rid of the taxes that will be around at that time, and he will call people to Islam. These are all words directly from the hadith. And in his time, he will also kill Masih ad-Dajjal. He will kill Dajjal, the Messiah. And after that, there will be a lot of amnesty on the earth, and so on and so forth. This is just part of the hadith. And he talks about when the cattle will eat and drink together with the wolves, and the children will actually play with snakes. Snakes will be around them, they'll play with them, the snakes won't bite them. The cattle will actually drink from the same pool as the predators that used to attack them. This will be for a number of years. Allah will bring the amana and the safety on the earth, and Isa alayhi salam will actually be on the earth for a number of years. Now, before all of this amana, before all this safety happens, Isa alayhi salam's first duty is to give da'wah to the world. He's going to convert. Now imagine so many thousands and thousands and millions and perhaps billions of Christians at that time will all convert to Islam. So overnight, or over literally a few nights or a few weeks, you will have the whole of the Christian population. Right now, they're half the world, right? Them converting. So if you came right now, what it would mean is that you've got 1.7 billion Muslims, you've got 3 billion Christians. So as soon as the 3 billion Christians convert, you've got now 4.7 billion Muslims on the earth. Do you understand the logistics, how quickly things change? So that's how it's going to change so quickly that most of the world will now be behind Isa alayhi salam, with whatever fitna and trouble situation is going on. And then Isa alayhi salam then goes to find Dajjal. And according to a hadith in Ahmad, he actually will kill Dajjal by Babul Lud, which is a gate at sort of the northern part of where Palestine is. But there will be a number of times when he meets him, and each time Dajjal sees Isa alayhi salam, Dajjal starts to melt. Just as you find salt will melt in water, you will find Dajjal, melting means that not literally melt, but he just can't stand in front of Isa alayhi salam, because he's the total opposite of what Isa alayhi salam is. Now, the word Masih is used for Isa alayhi salam and used for Dajjal as well. Masih comes from a word in Arabic from masaha, which means to wipe. And the tafsir of that is that Isa alayhi salam has been wiped on his forehead with goodness, and Dajjal has been wiped on his forehead with evil. Okay? So that's the tafsir of that. And Isa alayhi salam eventually catches up to Dajjal. Dajjal is trying to run away from him. And the only individual who will actually kill Dajjal is Isa alayhi salatu salam. No other person will be able to kill Dajjal. So I just want to just add couple of words here, is that some of our youngsters get really excited about this stuff. Yeah? Like, yo, it's happening, bro. It's happening. Yeah, they get really excited. They wanna live the time of Dajjal. They wanna see in action. They wanna go to Dajjal and say, yo, Dajjal, you know how tough I am, eh? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You're not supposed to get excited about Dajjal. The prophets warned us about Dajjal. They said it's the biggest tribulation ever on the earth from, when time began. It's one of the biggest tribulations. You're supposed to be scared of the time of Dajjal. And then the next thing you're supposed to do is, when you think about Dajjal, there's none of this that I'm going to be this macho man who's dodged this and dodged that of Dajjal. He can't catch me. There's none of that, okay? Right? And if you ever think that you're going to be able to man up to him, then no. Just forget it, okay? Just forget it. Because you'll be lucky just to be alive with your iman at that time if he hasn't mesmerized you with some of the things that he's going to do. So just to believe that Isa alayhi salam is the only one that will kill him, okay? That faith. And that time is not a time to look forward to. Simple. That time is not a time to look forward to. Because there's going to be a lot of tribulation, a lot of killing is going to take place. Killing to the level that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in one hadith that a bird will fly. Now imagine this, a bird will fly over dead bodies, wanting to find a place where it can sit. Just sit, rest. And it's flying. There's so many dead bodies underneath. It's flying. That by flying over so many dead bodies, miles after miles, that bird drops dead on the ground and can't find a space. Now some ulama have said that that's like it could be a nuclear bomb or something, because you'd never get that kind of, if it was normal people dead, and you can see a bird probably just sitting on a tree and then just flying onto another tree, but perhaps it's an annihilation of countries and countries. We don't know what's going to happen at that time. So it's not a time to look forward to. It's a time. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his time he said ta'awwadu min arba. He said ask Allah to protect you from 4 things. And one of those things he said, after saying that seek protection from the fitna or the tribulation of the grave, one of the things he said is seek protection and seek Allah's protection from Dajjal. Okay? So now, when Isa alayhi salam will finally see him and they will see each other, then they will advance at one another. Well, the hadith talks about 2 horses or something that will jump up in the air, where they're both trying to kill each other, and Isa alayhi salam will kill Dajjal before Dajjal kills Isa alayhi salam. We don't know, again, there are so many different interpretations of whether they are actual vehicles or whether they're planes or things that, I don't want to go into all of that. I will hold another talk in the future about this, and we'll have a proper discussion or something, whether it's here or somewhere else. But the point is that Isa alayhi salam is the one that will kill Dajjal. When he kills him, that's when this amana and this safety will be brought on the earth for the rest of the people. And there's another tribulation that will happen when Ya'juj Ma'juj come out at that time. According to one hadith, Ya'juj Ma'juj come out from wherever they are at that time, and that's when Isa alayhi salam takes the believers onto a mountain. And Ya'juj Ma'juj, they dominate the earth, and there's no one living except for the few humans, or those humans with Isa alayhi salam on that mountain. And then Isa alayhi salam makes dua to Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jal then brings about something from the skies to kill the Ya'juj Ma'juj. Okay, there's different ways of how they actually die. One narration says that the Ya'juj Ma'juj then say, we've killed all the people on the earth, let's try and kill the people in this sky or whatever. And they shoot these things towards the sky, and it actually comes back and lands on them, and they're killed. Then Allah brings certain birds to take the bodies and throw them into the oceans and the seas. And that's when Isa alayhi salam comes down. And this is the time when there's a lot of amana on the earth, a lot of safety on the earth, and these people live in happiness and pleasure and so on. This is the time when the children are playing with snakes and so on and so forth. And he lives on the earth for between 7 to 9 years, depending on when he actually died. Now, the tafsir says that, some tafsirs say that he was lifted up from the earth at the age of 33. If that was the case, the hadith says that he will die at the age of 40. Okay? The hadith says he will be for 40 years. Now that could be 2 things. It could mean 2 things. Either it means that he will die at the age of 40, Okay, he will die at the age of 40 or around 40. So some have put it at 7 years, 33 plus 7 is 40. Some have said up to 9 years, so they're saying that they're differing whether he was 31 when he was lifted or 32 when he lifted. But some have said that 40 means 40 plus whatever he had. So it could be 73 years of age. And the dominant one, I believe, is 40. When the Prophet ﷺ says 40 years, 40 in Arabic doesn't always mean literally 40. It's like if I say to you, how many times have I told you? I've told you hundreds of times not to do that. Now, did I tell you hundreds of times? Literally hundreds of times not to do that? Or did I say to you plenty of times not to do that? What do I actually mean?
Plenty.
What do I actually mean? Plenty. So in English you say, I told you hundreds of times not to do that. Yeah, but it doesn't mean hundreds. We mean plenty. In Arabic, when you say arba'in, sab'in, mi'ah, when you use these figures, 40, 70, 100, you mean plenty. So when the Prophet ﷺ said 40 years, it means he will live for a good time on the earth, whatever that is, good few years. Because if you could actually calculate Isa ﷺ's actual, death, imagine somebody in the time of him saying, oh, we've got this hadith, it says you're going to die in 7 to 9 years. Just like to say, you're very close to that. Can you imagine, somebody being able to clearly tell him, predict him when he's going to actually die? I mean, it could be the case that he knows when he's going to die. I don't know. Prophets sometimes get that. Like Musa alayhi salam, he had angel of death coming to him and asking him, Allah sent me to you, do you want to go now and so on or later on? It could be the case. I don't know, but for us commoners, I would say that the most dominant opinion that I find is the one where it means he'll stay a good number of years on the earth. There's not an actual exact date of how long he's going to stay on the earth. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla will give him a proper maut, which means his soul then departs his body, and then his body is buried next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is now, if you know the Rawda, okay, if I can explain this, okay. So this is the Qibla for us. Yes? It's going to be quite simple for you to know. Okay, this is the Qibla. Now follow me carefully because I'm going to explain this only once. This is the Qibla. Imagine you're sitting in the Rawda. Were you sitting on that carpet there?
Yeah.
Green carpet? Yeah? Is the Rawda. Okay? Now, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grave is going to be on your left hand side. Yes? It's going to be a square part, isn't it? Yes or no? Yes? So what happens is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's body is like this, look. His head is this way. His legs are facing that way towards your left, and his body will be slightly tilted with his face towards the Kaaba. Okay? He is at one place. Okay? And if you actually look at the doors of, when you go through to do your salam, you can see there's certain small holes. There's 3 holes. There's one there, and there's 2 other ones quite close to each other. So what happens is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is there on his left hand side. On his left hand side is Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. But Sayyidina Abu Bakr has got his head just near to where the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. Do you understand? So Sayyidina Abu Bakr is also lying like this, but he's a bit more down this way. Do you understand? His head is a lot more down and towards the feet of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, towards the left of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Sayyidina Umar his head is next to like the shoulder of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, again on the left hand side. And there's one space left on the right of the Prophet ﷺ, or if I've got it right, towards one side where Isa alayhi salam will actually be buried. And that's where that's the end of the burial of Isa alayhi salam. And after that, all the other events will happen. Finally, the day of judgment will occur. All the different signs will come, and the final hour will strike. Okay. Now, I'm sure you've probably got some question or something. What we'll do next week is we'll do a good wrap up with some ayats that talk about messengers alayhim salam in different ways, in different places of the Quran. We'll look at that, and then of course after that we'll have to start a new series. So if you've got any questions, have you got any questions today? Anyone put your hands up? Okay, go ahead. Okay, a very, very quick thing of Malakul Maut. Before he takes your life, you see him. What happens is that we've got these eyes here, which cannot see the angels right now. Okay, we can't see the angels. But then we've got the eyes of the ruh, of the soul, that if Allah allows you to see it, then we can actually see all the angels, and we'll see the angels on our sides, we'll see the angels on everyone's shoulders, we'll see the angels coming up and down, you understand? That one does not open for anybody unless you come to your death. So when your actual death time comes, just before your other eyes see the angels, your tawbah is accepted. But as soon as Allah sends them down, like they could come down right now, I might not still see them. But there comes a point just before someone's death that those other eyes open and I see all of them. Now as soon as you see the other world, there's no more tawbah that's accepted. So that's the moment when you see Malakul Maut, or you see the other angels, you see the whole realm of everything. And of course everyone's got yaqeen. Okay, a very important thing I think you've pointed out, because I had to cover this as well, part of the series. So here it says, ayah number, so this is surah number 4, ayah number 159. وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. Allah says, there is no one from the people of the book, there's no one from the people of the book, except that he will certainly believe in Isa alayhi salam before his death. Now the tafsir of this is in two ways. Okay? Either it means that when that Christian comes to the end of his life, and his soul, his these other eyes, like I just explained, it opens. At that time, he's going to realize, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? I just worshipped a prophet that shouldn't be a prophet. I've done something wrong. And he will believe in Isa and the truth of it. Or any Ahlul Kitab who never believed in him, his eyes will open and say, oh, I've done the wrong thing. I should have believed in him. I even denied him and so on. What have I done? Okay? So that's one tafsir. A second one is that this ayah means Mawtihi, means the Maut of Isa alayhi salam. So there is no one from the Ahlul Kitab, from the people of the book, that will be there, except they will certainly believe Isa alayhi salam before Isa alayhi salam's Maut, before his death, the second time he comes. Do you understand? So the second time Isa alayhi salam comes, of course, that time he won't have a transfer of his soul. That time he will have his soul separating from his body. The first time round, his body and his soul was lifted. But the second time round, when he comes back to the earth, that time he will have a normal death like everyone. So this ayah, according to the second tafsir, means all those Ahlul Kitab at the time of Isa alayhi salam, when he comes back down to the mosque in Damascus, and they see who Isa alayhi salam was, all the Ahlul Kitab at that time, before Isa alayhi salam dies, they will believe in him. They will all convert to the real faith and they will believe in him. Those are the two tafsirs. So I needed to point to this because in the beginning of the session I said to you that he had two references say to him that he's been transferred or lifted, and there's only one reference about Isa alayhi salam's actual death is this one, which really refers, if you go to the second tafsir, like I just explained, it refers to the death at the time when he returns back. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Any other questions, whatever you have?
Yeah, one question.
One question, go on, I'm trying to go on.
You mentioned the status of the shuhada and the mu'min. What about someone who's a siddiq?
Yeah, so siddiq, according to the tafsir, will be, or according to the interpretation, will be as high as the shaheed or higher than the shaheed. Okay, but we haven't got any real, we haven't got the real reference or something where the Siddiq will be in the afterlife. We haven't, but the general gist of it is because Allah said Nabiyyin, Siddiqeen, Shuhada, Salihin. So because the Shaheed gets that, then the two before him, the Siddiqeen and the Prophets, they get something higher. That's the general understanding, but we don't have a clear reference to say where the Siddiqeen will be in the next world. Okay? Any other questions, inshallah, I'll take it next week from you and we'll wrap up completely from the series next week, inshallah, and then I'll tell you what we'll do after that. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.